Okay, so now that we've gone through setting up VMs in AWS, I'm sorry, in Azure and in GCP, let's go ahead and get started with AWS. So once you're logged in, this is what the console homepage looks like. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to EC2. And once we're in EC2, now we can go ahead and go to our instances. And it says no matching instances found. So what we're going to do is come over here and do launch instances. This is going to bring us to our launch an instance default setup page. So again, we're going to go ahead and call this demo VM. We can add additional tags just like we did with like Azure or like metadata tags in GCP. And we can go ahead and choose an application OS image. So while I was going through this, I noticed like, hey, there's Mac OS image in AWS. And I didn't realize that was there. As of November or October of last year, you can now spin up Mac OS images on AWS. So keep that in mind. That's pretty cool. But now let's just go ahead and use Amazon Linux. And we're going to go ahead and use 64-bit architecture. For our instance type, there's a couple of instance types that are going to be free tier eligible, which is really nice. So let's go ahead and choose one that's free tier eligible. We're still going to delete this right after we're done. And then for key pair, we're going to create a new key pair. So this is our SSH key. You can choose RSA or ED25519. This is, I guess, supposed to be a bit more secure, but for our purposes, doesn't quite matter. So I'm just going to call this demo VM key pair. We're going to use a PEM file for OpenSSH and for PowerShell, or you can also use PPK for use with PuTTY. So PuTTY is used on Windows. So we're going to go ahead and create key pair. There's a notice here: when prompted, store the private key in a secure and accessible location on your computer. You'll need it later. So just keep that in mind. We're going to go ahead and create our key pair. And it's downloaded our .pem file, which is great. Now for our network settings, we're going to go ahead and just allow the defaults, but we're also going to allow HTTP traffic, again on port 80, and rules with a source of .0.0.0.0/0 allow all IP addresses to access your instance. You can customize the access of like which IP addresses should be able to SSH to that machine. So you can set a custom range, or you can just use your own IP. We're just going to go ahead and leave anywhere for now. So you can configure storage here. This is your root volume, so like the boot disk. If we go to advanced details, that's where we're going to start getting some other things. Again, you have your spot instance where you can request a spot instance. We can create some domains. We'll get into that in networking. Auto recovery, shutdown behavior, all these things that we looked at in Azure quite a bit. So now if we keep going down, what we can do is, some more metadata. There's some user data. You can upload a file and place that into the user data for each user that's going to work on the VM. So now we're going to go ahead and do launch instance. It's going to do some things for us by default. So it's going to create a security group. It's going to generate that VM. Wow, that was fast. Successfully initiated launch of that instance. So now what we can do is go ahead and click on this instance. And we're back in our instances page. And instance state is pending. So we're going to have to wait until it is available. And once it is, then we can go ahead and connect to it. Running, excellent. Okay, so a couple of ways to go about this, but let's go through it. So let's go to the instance ID. So now we have all of the information about our instance here, and we can go ahead and come over here to connect. So a couple of different ways to go about this. You can connect using the EC2 Instance Connect. So that's going to be a browser-based client, the same way that we did with GCP. We have our username, which is, you can set a custom username. EC2-user is fine. We can also come over here to SSH client. We're going to do it this way this time. So what we're going to do is it gives us the example stuff here, which is great. It's just the location of demo VM keypair.pem that we might have to change. So let's go ahead and open up a terminal. And we are going to come over here. And first, again, if you're on a Mac machine, you need to, let's just CD into our downloads. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to chmod 400 demo VM key pair. And if you hit tab, it'll auto-complete the PEM file. Great, so now it's CD back into our home directory. You don't really have to, but just for the heck of it. Then we can do SSH-I, and then we'll do downloads / demo VM key pair.pem, then EC2-user at, and instead of using the IP address for AWS, we're going to use this default domain name. So that's what's listed right here. So we'll do EC2-54.161.85.compute-1.amazonaws.com. Yay, and now we're here, and we're on EC2 user at IP 172.3.144.129. Let's just make sure that that matches our internal IP. Yeah, so we're going to get into the differences between public IPs and private IPs. Here we're on the private IP.